A-T. It's in the name.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor podcast with Ben and Travis. On today's episode, we're going to talk about one of my favorite sayings, laughter is the best medicine. And we're going to talk a little bit about that after this important message. This episode of the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast is presented by Faulkner University. Faulkner University is a private Christian liberal arts university based in Montgomery, Alabama, with a mission to provide an education anchored by not only intellect, but also character and service. The Faulkner experience aims to educate the whole person. Every individual matters every day. We all want to become better versions of ourselves. No one wants to remain trapped where they are because of missed opportunities and unrealized dreams. At Faulkner University, we believe your dreams don't have an expiration date. We understand that you're looking for more than a degree. You want to find your niche and thrive in your career. Whether you're a high school senior just beginning your trek or an adult student looking for a better path, Faulkner is here to help guide your journey. Go to faulkner.edu to apply or get more info. That's faulkner.edu. I'm Travis Creasy. That's all-pro counselor with Three Chord Counseling in Muscle Shoals, also the preaching minister at Highland Park Church of Christ in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Ben Hayes, how's it going, man?
It's going good. Right here at the end of the year, doing great. Looking forward to the holidays. I thought, it is the end of December. I had still time to make one more bad decision, so I picked up some fast food on the way here, and didn't feel so bad when I looked, and Will had a cup from the same fast food restaurant. Those Golden Arches took care of us today. So, but other than that, feeling pretty good. I might be feeling worse about it later, but right now, feeling pretty good.
And that's Will Mahan, the youth minister at Highland Park Church of Christ, among other things, who puts up with us and helps us with the new fads and technology and all that good stuff. How you doing, Will?
I'm good. It's expected for a youth minister to eat fast food and be unhealthy, but preachers,
when we get old, you guys supposed to do better.
It's not as expected. So I guess I can just push it back on him. But I'm doing well. Glad that school's out. Christmas break is here. And that's always a joyful time and just a good time to reflect and relax a little bit in the midst of 18,000 Christmas parties.
That's true.
That ruin the relaxing part of the season.
Exactly. It looks like Travis is not out of school yet, though, because I'm still seeing stuff over there.
Yep, we're wrapping up final exams, and what fun that is. This is my light day. I actually did not give an exam today. I've been doing other things, getting grades in the grade book, all that good stuff. Doing some work on the adventures of Ben and Travis and the Worry Coaster, getting some of that lined up, hopefully coming down the pike here pretty soon. But like I mentioned in the intro, we're going to talk a little bit about laughter being the best medicine. Of course, this is the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast. So we certainly want to touch that base as we head in. This episode will be released on Christmas Eve. And so we certainly hope that this episode finds you in a celebratory mood. I know that that's not the case for everyone during the holidays, and maybe this will help you kind of get into that gear. But Ben and Will, honestly, we have been together and laughed until I cried so much that it's hard to even pinpoint one moment where that happens. But, there's oftentimes, and maybe you're feeling this at home, that sometimes you laugh to keep from crying. I know that that's kind of how we felt about college football and some things of that nature here in the last few weeks. But yeah, laughter being the best medicine and important to laughing. I can't even remember. I guess it's been the last few days. There was something I saw on some video platform that had me in tears, and I'm sure it came from our world famous text group. So
there's no doubt about it. I was doing chapel with the littles yesterday. And one of the things that we talked about in there was that passage, because I was dressed like a elf. And I was thinking to myself, what can I talk about dressed like this and it not be really awkward? Because it was really awkward to begin with. I had elf ears and everything on. But so I talked about that. I said, the Bible In fact, a lot of the songs we sang yesterday were, I've got joy down in my heart, deep, deep down in my heart. Got peace like a river, love like an ocean, joy like a fountain. I've got joy down in my heart, deep, deep down. That may be the other one I said. But anyway, all the different joy songs got the joy, 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 joy. And so I kind of talked about that. I said, hey, we sing these songs a lot. What is joy and what's that really about? And I talked about joyful heart is good like medicine, and understanding that there is something to be said about how we feel when we find that joy. Now, joy is not exactly the same as happiness. Happiness tends to be a lot about our externals. Joy is something we can have because of sort of who we are and what we have. And I think that speaks to some of what you're talking about, not just with the text group, but as Christians, we generally, I hope, we can find things to smile about and laugh about, even when things are really difficult. So, because we know ultimately whatever sorrow and pain we're going through here is temporary. And so that kind of helps in those areas. And so we just kind of talked about that and the need to always be able to find joy in the moments that we do have.
I think a big part of laughter, and I think our group has done it well, the infamous text group with Josh and Blake, is it helps put things in perspective. I know all of us work different jobs. We know that Blake has a cupcake job working for the state. But, kind of the rest of us may have some stressors from time to time. And I think it's always good to back away from the seriousness of daily task. And to understand, too, that everything is not, I don't know how you word it, such a monumental, pivotal like moment of my life is going to be terrible or it's going to succeed. And I think sometimes just the happiness there, laughing, draws us back to see the bigger picture and just take a breath and relax. And I think in our world, with as much news as we are constantly connected to, a lot of times it is difficult to back away. One of the joys of Twitter and TikTok for me is the internet is undefeated. If somebody, whatever's going on in our world, there are people that I believe their spiritual gifts are making jokes out of it. And I love being around those people because there's a lot of serious things that are going on. And just those moments of laughter help us realize, hey, everything is going to be okay. And it may not always be the way that we want it to be or that it'll work out the way we want it to. But just those sighs of relief and just getting away for a minute. And so I think it is important, and to surround yourself. I think it's contagious. I was having a Christmas party the other day, and we had a guy who's dating one of our girls in the youth group. And he said, Will, I was scrolling through TikTok the other day and I could have swore I saw you on like this broadcast. And I was going, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I'm not on a broadcast. I said, I'm not sure who that is. And he was like, no, I promise. The guy on there was talking about PTSD, and it was patent thorn stress, stress or distress syndrome, whatever the joke that Blake made. And he goes, dude, I sat there and just scrolled through all y'all stuff, and it made my night. Because he's a huge Auburn fan, and there's just little moments like that I go, it is contagious, and it is fun just to go, hey, here's something that he really, really loves, and Blake completely made fun of it, and it made his whole, night. So it is contagious to be around.
Well, I've spent some time with, I spent time working at the Child Advocacy Center in Coleman. And I can remember some of the first meetings with those counselors. This was my first work whatsoever. And it was, kids that were abused, kids that were the abusers sometimes that we were working with. And so in those first meetings, there was just some uncomfortable humor, that was shared with just among the adults that were working there. And it wasn't anything about the specific situations. It was just some humor that I was kind of like, is this a test? Am I supposed to laugh at this? Or if I laugh at it, are they going to fire me right away? It was kind of weird. But I just remember when I kind of, chuckled and looked at them, and they said, look, if we don't find things to laugh about here, then we can't manage. This is a difficult, hard job. And so, yeah, sometimes our humor is going to be those that you're just going to kind of go, is that something I'm supposed to laugh at or not? He said, but if you don't laugh about it, you have a really hard time, getting through these days. And I've remembered that with a lot of different things. There's just some things, in ministry, we laugh about some things sometimes because to keep us from crying. I know one of the things I've thought about a lot is what Travis had talked about. He may want to say something about that. I know you've mentioned it on here before. What your room was like at the hospital and why people seem to be drawn to it.
Yeah, I was surrounded by cards from people. A lot of you may be listening that sent cards, and I think the people were blown away because it was a fairly bleak situation where not a lot of people on the cancer ward, the 7th floor Huntsville Hospital, are really in great moods. And I don't know that I necessarily was, but it was people like you who sent cards and adorned my room. And there were doctors and nurses that didn't necessarily have to be in there very longer. And maybe they lingered a little longer just because of that. But they did make comments on the cards and the peace and the joy that seemed to be in the room. Of course, I had tons and tons of visitors who came as well. But, one of the scriptures that kind of you think of is Proverbs 17:22, a joyful heart is good medicine. And thinking of that now, like I said, this is coming out on December the 24th. Our Patreon people will get a little earlier than that. But if you're listening to it, it's probably not all going to get done if it's not done right now. Right. So maybe it's just time to, hey, it's just what it is at this point. And maybe that's it, just pausing and taking a little peace and understanding that, Lord willing, the sun will come up tomorrow and you'll get an opportunity to celebrate whatever's going on. Or maybe it's just simply, and I'm not speaking to people who have a good reason to not be happy at this point, right? We've experienced loss. Ben, I know, you've experienced that in the last year or so, and I'm sure that that's part of something that you're working through at this time of Christmas. And I'll let you speak to that. But, I'm not speaking to those people. I'm speaking to people who, if the worst thing that's going on in your life is the transfer portal of the college football season, like maybe, just maybe, things aren't so bad. And I'm speaking directly to myself because last night I was like, what is the deal? It's like my favorite sport. And they're just on a crash course of how to destroy it. But ultimately, if that's the biggest thing I have to complain about, then I've got it pretty good. And you need to take time and to reflect. And I know there are plenty of things ministry-wise, and maybe you guys can think of it. Ben, you shared and kind of got me on this thought process that maybe at the time didn't feel very funny, but in the years past, like years since, you kind of chuckle about those things and realize that maybe, just maybe, they're quite funny and maybe nobody was hurt. I guess mine is the little boy at Pine Hill who ran out of the back. He always ran out of the back of the church early to beat everybody out. And at one point he latches on to the back of an older gentleman's truck and basically skis through the parking lot on the gravel as he's leaving. And at the time, that was scary, but now you're like, what a little boy thing to do, right? Like, thankfully he wasn't speeding out of there and it wasn't dangerous per se. Obviously it could have went poorly, but just things like that you just kind of sit back and go, well, that's pretty funny to think about.
In the however many years now I've been doing ministry, 24, 25 years I've been doing ministry now. It's hard to limit that to one or two stories. There's been some really good ones. I think we've mentioned some of them on, some of our mission trip things, because that usually tends to be some of the funnier stories. I've shared Austin Oakley, I think, sticking his finger in a fan on the bus and just holding it and sitting back down, and his dad's driving the bus and yells back at him like, what are you thinking, son? He doesn't, there's no compassion whatsoever, just driving, and cut his finger pretty good. Now he's an insurance guy, so maybe that's part of it, but and that his dad was too. And then at the time that same kid bought ice cream for pretty much everybody in the village accidentally. I think he was just
Why is it always the same kid?
It's always the same one.
Right? It's like the same one, right?
So we might have to tag Austin and his insurance in this one. But, those, I can remember when Wes Howell, and I don't remember if I actually was there. It's just one of those stories that kind of sticks. But I was thinking about this one the other day. We had a baptism here, and as I was walking back up the steps, I kind of had a little bit of a stumble, and I thought about Wes because he had baptized somebody at Petersville, and he was walking out, and of course the curtains are closing, and as they get closed, he slips and falls backwards into the baptistry again, and all the congregation sees is the things close, and they hear a splash and a commotion and watch the water run down the wall at the front of the auditorium because everybody's still there from church. And so that one's always been one. Ben Allen, I think it was Ben or Blake, one stepped off into a baptistry that had one of those really soft tops on a mission trip, fell into it. So there's always a good way to laugh at young people. I'm sure you've got even more.
Yeah. You talk about mission trips, definitely. Driving 60 people to the Navajo reservation, without stopping to spend the night anywhere, was an intriguing.
Was that funny? Was that joyful? I thought that turned out a little bit less joyful.
That one was probably not ideal because I had a lot of moms that were hacked at that decision. Good thing though that my brother and AJ Gooch also helped lead that. So it's kind of like, I'm just the young guy here, this is on them. So like moments like that, we said, we'll spend the night at this church in Gallup, New Mexico, that was right outside the reservation with the congregation we were working on. Well, they had no showers. And so we lined up a gym, like the YMCA, that would let us shower. Their water pipe busted. And so, you've got moms and teenage girls taking 2 showers over the course of 7 days. And they were not happy. But it's amazing to me that when these kids graduate high school, it's like, what is one of your favorite memories? Oh, it's the mission trip to the Navajo reservation. And so it's like, once you're able to look back and kind of laugh at what happened, you really remember the lessons and you actually get out of it what we wanted you to understand. And I think being able to go kind of like what you said, if this is the worst thing that I had to worry about and I can smile about what I went through, there are a lot of benefits that do come from it. I remember in Tennessee, we were at CYC and I was on the 3rd floor trying to kind of be quiet, say to myself, put all the boys in the basement. No women saw this, but the boys knew where my room was, and they got out on the balcony and one of them stripped down butt naked. And he comes running across the balcony. Like you hear it, you just hear boom, boom on those, wood porches. And like, I've got my window open, the blinds, and all I see is just this body. And it jumps into the hot tub. This is the star quarterback of the football team. Didn't even go to church with us. He was visiting.
It's always that guy.
Jumps into the hot tub. And of course, you would have thought 3 or 4 water heaters exploded because you just hear all the water crashing down because I'm on the 3rd level. And so it's hitting all of the porches below it, balconies, and it's at the moment you want to wring the kid's neck and kill him, because who has seen this naked kid running around, the outside of the cabin? But, you go back to it and go, hey, it was a funny moment. He started coming to church with us. We were able to influence and impact his life. So, it's fun to think about those memories. And I think those memories are what also bring me to a life of joy. I know that we say you can have joy without happiness because sometimes life's not always going to be happy. But I think being able to think back over the course of your life and being able to really remember the fun and just the crazy times you didn't plan for, I think joy is a whole lot easier when you can be happy. And so sometimes those memories help that.
It kind of dovetails a little bit into what we talked about with Thanksgiving. It's what you focus on. If you think about joy and you think about what's the lesson I can learn from this, what's the what's something I can see in this that's good. If we're really looking for that, we're going to find it. And I think that's why a joyful heart does good like medicine, because we're looking. I mean, you mentioned dad, and this will be first Christmas without dad, and mom's struggling. I think a lot of the family struggling with that. He was somewhat of a patriarch of the family, I think, even among brothers and sisters, just somebody that was really looked up to. And it's going to be a tough year, but there's always those things that you can think about. I was hunting the other day, and stories about the things that we did together and things like that were coming to mind. And every now and then those funny stories, and even in his Parkinson's, dementia, Lewy body, whichever one, it actually was, there was a lot of weird things that he thought, and I've shared those with you guys, and we've kind of laughed about them. I laughed about them then, not that they were funny to him, not that they were funny, per se in that level, but there were just times where they were very entertaining stories that he had in his mind that were very real to him. But if I didn't somewhat find some humor in it, it was a lot more difficult. And so even being able to find a little bit in that and think back about some of the good times that you have, that's where that joy, even in these difficult times. And I think that's why he says, count it all joy when you fall into various trials. The trials help us. They benefit us on some level, and make us stronger. And so even in trials, we can sometimes, be able to dig out the joy.
Look here, partner. When you want to secure your load, you don't want to trust no fancy pants or straps. You want something made real tough. Strap Outlaw ratchet straps for those who like to work hard, live wild, and don't take no guff off nobody who ain't tough enough. So when you're out there on the road and life's trying to throw your load around, trust your gear the only strap that's tough enough for the job. StrapOutlaw.com.
Why are you talking like that?
Well, I'm doing a commercial for the toughest straps around.
Why don't you tell them to go to StrapOutlaw.com and check out all the ratchets, especially the T-grip ratchet that we got right here.
They're veteran owned. StrapOutlaw.com.
TheMagicMind.com /BAT20, BAT20. Question of the day is going to have to do with family, or I'll give you a choice and let you guys think about it. You can do both. The best dirty Santa, I think is it white elephant is another name for it. I don't know what they call it in your neck of the woods. Gift that you've ever seen. You could receive it, or you could see somebody else get it, or a great family moment from maybe the holidays. And so just get ready to share that. Like I said, themagicmind.com /BAT20. You can receive up to 48% off your first subscription. I've got a few, Ben. I know that you've had a few. I'm having to share. I know I said on the one podcast I was going to fight Whitney off, but she's like, no. So as usual, she wins. But we're taking one of them every day, work day, and I take mine around 10 a.m. And man, I just want to tell you, I turn into like a speed demon of getting stuff done, just like getting crazy. And so it's free shipping. It's conveniently delivered to your home, and it's an easy cancellation process. No questions asked. I think you can even do it via text message, and it'll be money back guaranteed 100%. But let me tell you, you're going to love it. So check it out, magicmind.com /BAT20. And you can be like me, man, and hit that 10 o'clock, hit it up, or you can take it earlier in the day. It can replace your caffeine. If maybe to start January 1, you're trying to come off caffeine for whatever reason that might be, this will certainly help. Gives me a good perk. Ben, anything you add to that?
Yeah, I've been taking it around lunch every day, just kind of as that little bit of caffeine. And I have noticed that it has helped me get through. Still, part of mine is a step too late. So I understand that that's part of it. But usually around this time, I'm really crashing. And I've noticed that I've not been crashing as hard. I might still yawn a time or two. But it also is something that's said that as it builds in your system, so it's kind of, not just a one shot thing. It's kind of like you take it every day and you kind of gradually see the benefits, clearer mind. And I seem to have noticed that as well. And I'm still kind of early in the phases, but I've been going about a week now on it and looking forward to continuing to try it.
I was in New Orleans at some point, not New Orleans, but down there around where the Kaisers are from at church. And we did a dirty Santa. For some reason, I was down there during Christmas break. And somebody brought a jar of Mississippi River mud or swamp mud, and it was unwrapped. And it got passed around. Well, the last person with it, the person who brought it, said, "Hey, you need to get in there, stick your hand in there and check a rock," right? And there was a rock in there. It had a trap door, and it had like $25 in there, And so everybody was trying to get rid of it. Ended up, and it may actually have been more money than that.
So we had a kid in Tennessee he came from a very, very wealthy family. And so when we did Dirty Santa, he always, people were like, "Oh, what did Kenneth bring?" Because they assumed his mom went and shopped for it, whatever. Well, one year he brought just a huge box. And of course, it's like you want to know what's either in the very littlest present or what's in the biggest. Yeah. And so immediately, like one of these middle schoolers went straight for it. And it was a 15-pound bag of birdseed. And of course he's like, "I'm going to get it. This is going to be the best one." Ends up being that. And so I've always enjoyed just the people who have normally given really, really good gifts, just to throw in a complete surprise. Live animals are always a good one that I enjoy.
I think hermit crab,
goldfish.
Brought goldfish. I think last 1 year, maybe it was 2 years ago.
And what's even better about that is like at the young adult parties, the kids see it, and so it's like you kind of have to take it, because your kid has seen it. So that's a great one. I've always enjoyed.
My cousin David's daughter. And I don't remember if this was I think it was at a holiday gathering at Myra and Danny's. It could have been at a ball game, but I don't think they generally came to the ball games. So, watch parties. So I think it was one of the holidays. And Dad was saying the prayer. And I remember she was just a little girl, probably Emmy's age. And Dad starts praying and probably going a little long with the prayer, And she comes over and she just starts tugging on his pants leg or his arm sleeve or something. And she's just going, "Hey, hey, hey," and he's saying the prayer, and everybody in there is hearing her go, "Hey, hey, hey." And so finally you just hear her go, "Be quiet. It's time to eat," and be quiet.
You just say what everybody else is thinking. Same thing.
Like, we've said enough prayer now. Can we move on? And so, maybe on that holiday gathering that you have, and they start to pray, and they're thanking God for all the family times. You might remember, don't go too long, or some kid's going to be thinking it. Probably all the adults too.
It's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year round, Clark. We hope that you have a tremendous Christmas, a holiday, Merry Christmas, all the good stuff. We hope it comes to you. We know that that's not the case for everyone, but we certainly hope that we can bring some joy. If there's some way we can help you, hello@benandtravis.com. We'd love to hear from you. If there's a specific episode that you'd like to hear in the new year, hit us up, send us an email, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Ben and Travis. But guys, I appreciate it, and have a Merry, Merry Christmas.
You too, you filthy animal.
Hey parents and young adventurers, are you ready to embark on an extraordinary journey? Introducing the Adventures of Ben and Travis and the Worry Coaster, a thrilling ride through the ups and downs of mental health in our new children's book. Join our dynamic duo as they navigate the twists and turns of their emotions while discovering the courage to conquer their worries. Pre-order your ticket to adventure now at benandtravis.com/books and be among the first to embark on this roller coaster of resilience. Let's turn worry into wonder and empower kids to embrace their feelings with bravery and hope. Buckle up. It's going to be an unforgettable ride.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.